I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you.
God.
Eat shit. How's that? Eat shit. Eat shit. Eat shit.
Smug smile.
Definitely eat shit.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
You can't handle the truth!
I can't handle ever getting a good list on this show. Welcome back to episode 44 of Your List Sucks, Disney Animated Edition. It's kind of weird that we've never done this episode. Like, I think we've hinted around it, but like never actually officially did this episode. So I'm so glad that this is going to happen. I brought in an eclectic group, I would say. They are at least going to have different opinions. They vary in age at some point, except two of these people. And I'm just excited to see how this all turns out. First, I'm going to go to the guy on my left, or my left here. I don't know. Tim Brzakala. You've been on the show a couple times. You've done well on the show, actually, if I remember correctly. Do you think tonight you're going to take that first place trophy, or are you going to lose because you have some interesting takes?
I have a couple interesting takes, and I think that will hurt me because I know you. And but I don't think my list is bad. I just think I think there's one thing that is gonna piss people off, but that's fine. But no, I don't think I'm winning this one unless you feel very generous tonight.
That's fair. I'm gonna go to the pain in my rear end. Child still up. Had to be a little nicer. Kaleb Boatman. I work with you all the time now by unforeseen circumstances. A lot closer than I ever wanted to, but I put you on the show because I apparently hate myself. Why do you think you're going to have the best list?
I don't. At least according to you, because I am self-aware and I'm honest. But I think my tastes are always either a little bit too old or a little bit too young, and I think that's exactly what we're going to see tonight.
Nazario, the oldest one on the panel. So you grew up with a lot of these movies that are out of the 2000s. You were older when you saw them. So do you feel like you'll have the best list, or do you think me being younger than you is going to hurt your chances of winning this list?
I was a teenager during the Renaissance, and you guys grew up with Meet the Robinsons, so I'm good.
Great movie.
Okay, I grew up with the Renaissance too, so I feel a little bit better. I'm not that young. And then the other member of Team 19, man that would put Leroy and Stitch on the list if he could, but can't because this is only theatrically released. How do you feel like you'll do tonight?
I don't think my list is bad. I feel very similar to Tim, where I'm like, my list is mine, and I think it's pretty good, but there's one or two things where you're not going to be happy. I haven't been here. I haven't been on this show since the Overrated of the 2000s, which can't get any worse than the list on that. Not my list, but Ryan's list.
So I felt like this is a topic that I didn't realize how passionate I was about it until I started getting lists from everybody, and then fumes started shooting out of my head. So the order, I didn't tell Koho this, but you're going to learn on the fly. I'm going to start with Brzakala. I'm going to go to Holzmann, Boatman, Nazario. Okay? So, Tim, give us your 10, 9, 8, and then if you have something higher, say yikes. So, go ahead.
So, my 10 is Moana.
Yikes.
All right. My 9 is Hercules. All righty then. My 8 is Lilo and Stitch.
Yikes.
Okay, so talk about Hercules.
Sorry. This is also my 9.
Okay, so Tim will talk about it, you'll talk about it, and I will tell you, and the rest of them can't say anything about it. So cool.
Okay, so for me, this one is just like purely nostalgia. Like I don't go back to it a lot, but when we do go back to it, Maggie really likes this movie, so we watch it often. But when we do go back to it, I do enjoy it. I have fun with it, but it's not one that I'm just like always like, oh, I got to sit down and watch this. I got to watch Hercules. It's fun. I like the characters. I like the villain. I like Meg. I think the characters overall are good. The story is not 100% there, but I think it's a really fun Disney movie altogether, though.
Kim.
Yeah, no, very similar to Tim. I think it's really fun. I think the soundtrack is fantastic, especially the muses are great. Gospel Truth is fantastic. I like the animation. Hades is one of my favorite Disney villains because of all the sass that man brings to the film. Yeah, I just really enjoy it.
Yeah. I personally love Hercules. It would arguably be in my top 10. Near the bottom half, but it would be in my top 10. I think villain-hero relationship in this one is like normally the villains are way better than most times than the heroes in most of these movies because they're just the plot piece moving it along, but the villain's the one that you like kind of understand the motives. And I think John Hurt's performance in this is insane as Hades. I think it's overall. I think yes. Is it accurate? No, absolutely can't be accurate for a Disney movie. I think we covered that in like overrated 90s, but it can't be accurate because no one will watch it. By the way, Koho, I'm getting an echo from somebody. I don't know who. But
yeah, I don't know who it is.
I think it's Nazario.
Okay, I don't know who, but somebody lower your speakers or something. Yeah, so Hercules, I think, is a fine pass for 10, 9, 8. It's gone now, so whatever that is. Cool. All right, so we're going to go to Cameron. You're 10 and 8.
So yeah, my 10, I'm getting ready to hear the word yikes. My 10 is Tangled.
Yikes.
Yeah. My 9 was Hercules, and my 8 is Wreck-It Ralph. Cool, I'm the only one who has it. I just really enjoy this movie. I think it pays homage to like the classic video games of old and has those great references, but then like it takes it further. It's a great story of like even if you don't necessarily know your purpose, you do have one and you just need to find it, and that like you're not necessarily who everyone says that you are. I think the animation's really good. I think John C. Reilly is fantastic. Yeah, it's just a fun time. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Wreck-It Ralph would probably be in the teens for me. I really do enjoy the movie a lot. I don't like the second one as much as I like the first one because I think the first one is like I like that original story. Like you're like it's a cool concept inside the video game. Let Disney tackle that for once, and I thought it was very cool. I think the relationship is the closest with Penelope and Ralph is the closest that we've gotten since like Boo and Sully. Like it's the closest thing. They're like trying to bring that kind of relationship back. Still works better in Monsters Inc., but I think it's a very close second when it comes to that. And I think the side characters like Jane Lynch as I don't know the character. Yeah, I think that's like, and Felix back and forth. I think that's a funny relationship that they touched on, and they actually had a pretty good twist in this movie. I remember watching the first time. I was like, that's creative. I like that. So not a bad choice. A little high, but no big deal with that. All right, Boat 10 9 8. You haven't said. Have you said a yikes yet? So I'm curious.
No, I've had one yikes.
Okay, well, let's see.
So my number 10 is The Sword in the Stone.
That's a yikes from me, dog.
Okay. My number 9 is Zootopia. Okay. Didn't really expect a yikes. And my number 8 is Mulan.
Yikes.
All right. So going to talk about Zootopia, a movie I know that Tim, for a fact, hates. I actually think this is like a really clever buddy comedy. I think it's basically Disney doing like a buddy cop film, and I really like that. It's Disney's version of 48 Hours is really what it is. And I really love seeing Disney kind of going into other genres, and I think this really works. There's a lot of like clever jokes going on in here. I think the sloths is a scene we all kind of remember, and I think it's just like a really fun movie at its core with some kind of real world parallels and that type of thing. I think it's just overall a really like one of the funnier Disney movies, I'd say.
Okay. So this movie has absolutely zero rewatchability for me ever. I thought when the first time I watched it, I was like, this world. I think it's so cool in animated movies and anything. It's kind of like Onward. When they build me a world and I get to spend some time in that world, I absolutely find it so fascinating to start with. But then once you know the secrets of Zootopia and like everything that goes along with it, it loses everything for me. Like, it doesn't have that same emotional beat. And after especially Paul Oyama, how actually kind of not sensitive it is to races in this movie is kind of rough. After he's told me that numerous times, I can't unsee that anymore. So it's kind of rough to watch it. I just think it has no rewatchability, and that's my number one problem with it. I think the world's great. I think Judy and Nick are fantastic characters. Like, I love Jason Bateman. It's just I don't want to revisit it because it loses a lot of mustard. Kind of like Inside Out for me. Once I know it, hard to go back into it. So, rough to have it at 9, but not a bad deal. So, Nazario. So let's start with your 1937. No, I'm just kidding. Whatever movie you picked, it's a 9-8.
Okay, my number 10 is Disney's Peter Pan. Nothing. Okay. My number 9 is Robin Hood. And my number 8 is Tarzan. Sweet. Let's go. Okay.
I'm gonna have to keep.
We're gonna overlap
hold on.
quite a bit.
I'm gonna have to give a public disclaimer. Koho, please stay off screen while he talks about Peter Pan, please. Okay, thank you. Go ahead. He hates this movie like bad.
I love Peter Pan as a concept. I love the book. I love that as a kid. I love the novel by J.M. Barrie, and I like most of the movies. This is my third Peter Pan related best film. I really like the 2003 one more, the PJ Hogan one that is live action. But this one, I actually think it hits most of the beats pretty well. Yes, it has not aged the best. I think it's pretty obvious on that part. But this one has a lot of nostalgic value for me. Even though it was made like 40 years before I was born, I still watched it when I was a very early age kid, and it just got my heart and never let it go because I love the concept. I love Peter Pan and Wendy. So that's it. My number 9, or you want to talk first? I forgot.
No, you go ahead. Keep going.
Okay. Robin Hood. This is the opposite for me. I'm not really a Robin Hood guy. I watched a lot of Robin Hood movies, and honestly, the best time I have usually is watching the Mel Brooks parody One Man in Tights, because it's pretty kind of a goofy character. It's a goofy concept, and if you try to take it seriously, it doesn't really work. So I actually really like the fact that Disney went a completely different way, just making them animals and making the whole thing an Animal Kingdom thing. And it's funny that he mentions Zootopia, because a lot of the designs from the animals in Zootopia are very similar to the designs in Robin Hood. And the story itself is one of the first Disney movies I remember, like, memorizing songs from it, even if it wasn't really a musical. The whistle stop at the beginning and the Funny King of England, things just stick in your mind. And I really, really loved this movie from when I was a real kid. So, and my number 8 is Tarzan. That is actually, I think, a very underrated film. I feel like a lot of people dismiss it because it was right on the end of the Disney Renaissance. And it really, really works. It has really great animation overall. It makes Tarzan work in the Disney world. And the Phil Collins soundtrack, although basically it's like a narrated soundtrack, I think for the very most part works with the movie. The only part I really have an issue with is the ending. Then it's completely the opposite from the original story. And it feels a little like Disney being Disney. But other than that, it's beautifully animated. The surfing on the trees and vines, skating thing is great. The animation is awesome. And it has one of the best villain deaths in Disney's movies because it's so freaking weird and dark. And I love that. So that's it.
All right. So 10, Peter Pan. Better than the Hugh Jackman Pan, but not by a huge margin. I still love Hook more as my Peter Pan, kind of world. I don't care what Chance Ellison says. He can suck an egg. But I think Hook is a grand time. Peter Pan it doesn't age well. Koho put it the best thing, correction, he doesn't hate it. It just doesn't age well. It's hard to go back and watch that. The only person that will run the show and put his own thing on the screen. Yeah, it didn't age well. I'm not a big fan of it. I think the world's great. I think Captain Hook is in probably my top 15 villains. I think I love Hook. I think that entire setup with him, There's a lot of rough parts of that movie. 9, Scully actually hit this one clear on the head. It's super fun. I put it on for my kids the other day, and it's so much that I forget about this movie at times that I absolutely love it. I think the music's great. I think the overall animation is really good for the time period. I think the story is awesome. So I don't actually hate it being your 9. It probably wouldn't have made my list just because there's so many, but I actually really enjoy Robin Hood. And let's talk about Phil Collins' the soundtrack. That's basically all this movie has for me. I think the story, the plot, everything is very blah in this movie. How Brooklyn is one of those people that absolutely, exactly, love this movie. I think this movie is a soundtrack and a soundtrack alone. The story is very, has sweet moments, but at the end of the day, it falls right through because I just don't like the relationship that they set up in this. I think the characters, again, Rosie O'Donnell as one of the monkeys always sets me off. It's like a league of their own. When she shows up, I'm like, oh, wow, okay, choices. I just don't like this at all as a movie. I think the soundtrack's great, but other than that, I don't like the movie. My wife would tell me different than I'm wrong, but I'm right on this one. All right. So the gloves come off. Now everybody gets to talk. This is the fun time. Tim, 7 through 4, one at a time. Go ahead.
So this is going to be the one that I'm going to get shit on. Is my 7 is Frozen 2.
Oof.
Yeah, I know. Everyone's going to shit on. So do I go to the next one then, right? Or I talk about
no
this
one
one?
yikes
Talk
it, so you get to talk about it, and we all get to talk about it.
Oh, okay,
Straight
okay.
to the fire.
So yeah, no, I get it. Everyone's gonna say, it's either not as good as the first one or it's not the best, even the best Disney movie of the 2010s. Like I've heard it all, but I don't know what it is about the movie. I just really fell in love with it the first time I saw it back in November, and I'm pulling a Koho. I'm fully aware I'm pulling a Koho, and I'm putting Spider-Verse at my number 2 of all time, or La La Land is my number 1. I'm doing it. I love the movie. I've seen it 8-9 times at this point. Me and Maggie watch it all the time, and I love the movie. I love the characters. I get that there's not a villain or whatever. That's great. Wait till I'm done talking to put up the comments. I love the movie. I don't know what to say. I love the music. It's great. You can all shit on me now.
Okay, so I can talk first. Frozen 2. Again, I got to be very careful because my wife is real close at throwing range. I walked inside when I left one day, and Frozen 2 was on, and she was crying when I walked in, and she's like, "Olaf's back," and I was like, "Cool." I thought the movie's fine. I think the movie is passable at best. Having kids and them watching Frozen nonstop at this point, I actually don't have any emotion or any love for any of these characters anymore. I don't like them. But I understand the story. This one is just, I think studios sometimes put out sequels for the sake of sequels. And I think this one knew that they were going to make a lot of money, so they went with it. I just don't think the plan was fully out there. I think Lost in the Woods, arguably could be top 20 Disney song of all time for me. I think that song is amazing. I hate Into the Unknown, but I'm telling you right now, that one is great. And Weezer just covered it too, and that makes it I love that version too. So
they covered it forever ago.
Oh well, I just saw it, I guess, but it just came out in my newsfeed. No, I think Frozen 2 is fine. It's definitely not top 10. It's definitely not top 20. But I think it's fine for your experience. It's 7, so if it was 1, I would be really upset. But okay, Cam looks like he wants to say something, so I'll let him go. My wife told me I'm wrong. So
sorry, yeah, no, I just want to say something to Zach Ford. How dare you, sir? How dare you? But okay, I don't dislike this movie. I actually quite enjoyed it. I think the soundtrack for the most part is really good. I don't love Into the Unknown. I find it very cliche and very annoying. But Lost in the Woods is really, really fun and is a great parody of those late 80s, early 90s boy bands. And Show Yourself is a ballad ripped straight out of musical theater that I love so much. I think it's a fun story. I think the scene where Olaf recounts the entirety of the first Frozen is fantastic and goes on for so long that it's incredible. I don't hate this movie. I've only seen it once, and yeah, I think if it grew more with me, maybe, but at this point, you know.
You two are available to talk whatever you'd like. Frozen 2?
Okay, I'll jump in. First, can we put up Zach's comment?
Again?
I want to put it back up. I'm in the market for a new Warzone teammate. If anyone is interested, please message me.
Boatman, Ford's name is already on the back of our shirts.
We can change it. Just take a marker. Anyway, so I don't think this is a bad movie. I really don't. I think there are a lot of good things about it. The characters are actually like really good characters. The ones from the first one, they're very good. The biggest problem with this movie is the pacing and the story. I think this movie is really awkwardly paced. It doesn't really like move. There's a lot of just stopping and starting, and I think that's kind of the biggest problem with it. It doesn't quite know where it's going, and I think that's kind of the problem. I do agree with Cam. The Olaf scene is hilarious and amazing, and it's probably the best part of the movie. But I think, like, you can tell there are parts where Olaf just kind of hijacks the movie, and it's an Olaf thing now. And now we're just going to go over here. Like, it doesn't feel like really a movie. It feels like a collection of shorts, really. But I do think there are good things about it. I don't think it's the worst thing ever, but I don't love it.
I think this movie is just very meh. It's like they took so long. They took 5 years to choose what sequel to make, and they came up with this thing that it looks like it was written by 5 different people who were in different rooms and never talked to each other. And each one of them picked a character, and they did their own little thing with it. And they all kind of are okay, but they never gel. The movie never feels like a full movie. The music is by far the best part of it. I do like Into the Unknown. Apparently, that's like a sin with this crowd, but I like that. I really like Show Yourself. My favorite, weirdly enough, is the Anna song, Do the Next Right Thing. That thing just kind of like hangs with me, and I really love the Ato Holland lullaby too. But yeah, I watched this movie like 20 times because it came in Disney Plus, and my kid loves it, and he keeps me asking me to put the Frozen movie. And every time I keep watching it, I just keep trying to figure out why it doesn't really make sense. I feel like they made a mistake trying to push Elsa to the forefront again. It would have been more enjoyable if the fifth element would have turned out to be Anna and representing something like love that would gel the other things, because Be Nice, there's a water element, doesn't really like what? And why everything has to be Elsa? Elsa is like the superhero here, and Anna just gets like the kingdom as a consolation prize. It's kind of a weird choice, but Oh, also they forgot to write a part for Kristoff in this movie. They just gave him a good song and forgot about him.
Okay. The great news, Tim, is I think the fire show is over. So what's your 6?
My 6 is Mulan.
Still yikes.
Okay.
Sorry, Cody. I have it in the same range, but it's higher. So do I still yikes it?
Yeah, we'll hold off on it because we have a lot of overlap, so we'll just hold for now. Normally we don't, but we'll hold. That's it.
Okay, so then my 5 is Emperor's New Groove.
Yikes.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
Actually, I think I have it in the same range. I have it in the same range.
Yeah. Okay. So we can talk about it. Let's talk about it. Anybody else have it, or is it just Boat and okay?
So, shouldn't the person who has it highest go, or do I go?
Where's yours at, Boat?
I have it at 4.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter. Okay. Emperor's New Groove is I saw it in the theater. My grandma took me to see it, and I just remember like falling in love with it, and then bringing it home on DVD or VHS or whatever it was at the time. And I just think it's so it's really clever. It's very funny, and I actually went a long time without seeing it. I went probably like 10 years without seeing it, and then recently over the last year got it and on Blu-ray and rewatched it, and I've rewatched it like 3 or 4 times since getting it on Blu-ray, it holds up. It's really funny. John Goodman and David Spade are both really, really good in it. Kronk is top tier Disney sidekick or whatever you want to call him. We all know the quote, but putting a flea in a box is really, really fun. I love this movie. I think it's hilarious. It's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this movie is like, it's got like the structure of like a 90s buddy comedy, but with the spirit and comedy tone of like the 40s Warner Brothers Looney Tunes cartoons. Like it's got that type of really clever writing, like really good slapstick. Like everybody knows these characters, and the way that they're designed like reflects their attitude. Like the characters designs are perfect in this. The writing is amazing. Everybody loves Yzma and Kronk together. Like that is just a perfect villainous duo. And then you have John Goodman and David Spade, who are working off each other very, very well. And David Spade in particular, I think is doing some of his best work in this that he's ever done in film. And I think he's like legitimately fantastic. And I love the risk that Disney took here, because they essentially took a very unlikable main character. Like Kuzco could have been too unlikable, but they get the exact right balance, and you still like and care about Kuzco despite the fact that he's kind of a horrible person. I love this movie, and yeah, it's great.
Easily in my top 10. I love this movie. Emperor's New Groove, I think, is second or first, depending on the day, of funniest animated Disney movie. I think this movie is. I think the entire scene of Yzma plotting what he's going to do to Kuzco, and especially the flea scene, is something I quote all the time. You're 100% right. It's this main character that no one should gravitate and like, and Pacha that is so likable that you just feel bad for him, and you're still trying to root on the character, but you know that if they get what they get, it ruins the nice character in the movie. I think I've quoted the waterfall. Yep. Sharp rocks at the bottom. Most likely. Bring it on. So yeah, absolutely think this movie is well deserving of top 10. Nazario, Cam, 11? Why do you hate good movies? I'm curious. Let's find out.
No joke. This was my number 11. This was so close. No joke.
Only one person sent me their actual, actually two people, and then Boatman said, just to let you know, my 11 is this. So you didn't, so you failed. I don't believe you.
No, this was legitimate number 11. It was between this and Tangled fighting it out, and I think just the newer animation of Tangled won out, but we'll get to that later. I do really enjoy this movie. I think it's hilarious. Patrick Warburton as Kronk is one of the greatest Disney characters, in my opinion. He's just fantastic. Yeah, it's really fun. It's a great movie. I don't know if you guys know this, but Disney's made a lot of good movies.
Yeah.
What?
Is this my voice?
Oh, yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Why do you hate it?
I have no problem with this movie. It's a funny movie. It's mid-20s for me. I think the issue for me is that I felt this was kind of like a bucket of cold water after the Disney Renaissance, because it's a completely different tone. They went for more like a cartoon vibe, like Boatman says. This feels like a Looney Tunes cartoon made by Disney. And the jokes are there. It's funny, it's sharp enough, but it's like fast food. Like you enjoy it for a bit, but it doesn't really have the substance to like pull you through a long time. To me, that's my interpretation of it. Also, I have a slight disadvantage that I got actually invited the year before by a friend that used to work with Disney in the distribution sector to watch a 20-minute preview of Kingdom of the Sun, the original concept for what this movie was supposed to be. So I saw that. I thought it was amazing. And next year I get Emperor's New Groove. So
that's about the funniest thing ever. You think it's going to be one thing, and you show up with David Spade and John Goodman. I love it. Star Drew, you're going to get timed out real soon if you ever put hoodwinked over Emperors. That's real bad. Okay. Your 4, Tim.
Yeah, so my 4 is Tangled, which I know Cam had later. Did it? I don't remember if the other two had it or not.
I think
Nope.
you have the
Okay.
highest. I think you have it the highest.
Okay,
Right?
Well, so this is a movie that I've seen a lot of times. When it came out, I took my niece to go see it in the theater. It was her first movie in the theater. So that was a really special moment. And then once it came out on DVD, we just watched it a lot with her. And then again, kind of like with New Groove, I went away for a while. And then when me and Maggie started dating, she was like, oh, I love Tangled. Tangled's the best. So we watched it again. And now I've seen it like 3 times in the last couple years. And it just like holds up every time. And there's stuff I always forget about Tangled, and then it like shows up. Like I don't know why, but I always forget about like the whole I have a dream scene until it like is happening, and then I'm like, oh shit, this is great. Like the whole sequence is really funny, and the characters are great, and Pascal is arguably one of the sassiest and best animal sidekicks in Disney. Love Pascal. It's really, really fun. I think it's the best. I think it's the best way Disney could have done this version of this story. And I think for like kicking off the 2010s and all the great movies we got in the 2010s from Disney, like I think this is like peak right now. So yeah, I love this movie.
Who else had Tangled? Okay, just one person? Okay. Okay, Cam, go ahead and talk.
Yeah, I had it at my number 10. I think this movie's fantastic. I think the animation is beautiful. I think the music is really great. I've Got a Dream is great. I See the Light is a fantastic duet. Zachary Levi as Flynn, aka Eugene Fitzherbert, which I think Eugene, the reveal that that's his real name, is one of my favorite jokes in that entire movie. But no, I think it's really, really fun. He's fantastic in it. My big thing, and it's the reason that Tangled and Emperor's New Groove both fell down on the list for me, is one of my best friends, his 2 favorite movies of all time are Tangled and Emperor's New Groove. And at my youth group, whenever it's like, oh, we need to watch a movie to kill time, he puts on one of those 2. So I've seen those 2 movies so much repeatedly, and that like just oversaturating it kind of lowered it down, but I think it's still great. It's a real fun time.
Yeah, I'll get to the other 2 in a second. But Tangled is, I've said it before, I think Tangled is the best Disney animated movie of the 2010s. I don't think it's even a question. I think there are good ones. I think they're close, but this is by far the best one. The soundtrack is fantastic. I think the chemistry between the 2 characters is so believable by Disney. I think Mother Gothel doesn't get enough credit about being the villain that she actually is. I think she's a fantastic villain. I think the Mother Knows Best song is honestly creepy at times, like how at the end when she's like, "Don't ever ask to leave this again," and I'm like, oh, okay. She survived Corona before we all survived Corona, so that gives a skill alone. Yeah, and the I've Got a Dream is arguably one of the funniest songs from the 2010s for sure. And that old man that plays Cupid pretty much in that movie is great. When he calls Mother Gothel a cold glass of water, it's fantastic. So, Boatman, Nazario, because I know what's on your list. Why do you hate great movies?
I don't hate it. I had it at 13, actually. And you're almost right. I have it as my second best 2010s movie. It's actually a really good. I think it's better than Frozen. I think it's even better than Moana, which I also really, really like. And the songs are great. I See the Light. I actually like the enchantment song for the flower that she does to take the power off. That is so like beautifully creepy. That is very interesting. And I understand why they did this. They pushed a lot of Flynn Rider in the marketing and the posters with the eyebrows and stuff, because that's what DreamWorks was doing at the time, and they were kind of like trying to get that that crowd because the Princess and the Frog didn't really get the Princess Girls crowd. But this is Rapunzel true and true. I actually would have preferred if they just named it that and pushed the movie for what the original concept was. But as it is, it's still the best princess movie of the 2010s. It's just not better than other 12 movies that I like.
Yeah, I think this is really, really good. I think part of these lists, a lot of what affects the ranking is what you grew up with and what you watched a lot as a kid. I didn't love this one as a kid, to be perfectly honest. This was not one that I watched a lot as a kid. I revisited it for Fandom pretty recently, and I liked it a lot more on rewatch. So probably it might go up on my ranking after a couple more rewatches, but right now it's in like the mid-teens on my ranking, I'm pretty sure. So it's very, very good, but it doesn't quite make my top 10.
You're wrong. Just real quick, Malcolm, would that say Tangle wouldn't even be in your top 10? Because we do time out people in the chat too, so keep running your mouth and you will be on a 5-minute ban.
I think he's saying it would be in his top 10.
Tangle would even be in my top. That doesn't sound correct. Okay.
I think he means like their taste has to be bad because Tangled would even be in Malcolm's top 10, and Malcolm has.
That's the way I took it.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's very true. You're right. Your taste is questionable at times. Okay, Cam, start with 7.
Yeah, my number 7 is Big Hero 6. Don't look at me like that, Boatman. Yeah, I had a feeling no one else would have this. I really, really like this movie. I think the animation's really cool. I think the story is great. The way that the story starts, where it's like you have this great relationship between Hero and his brother, and then that's just ripped away from him, and it's him trying to find this emotional healing process. And the way he does it is by becoming a superhero with a vendetta, I think is really interesting. I think Baymax is a fantastic character, and he's a great Disney sidekick. Great side characters, a really great story, and also just the animation when they go into like the alternate dimension is brilliant, and I love it.
Big Hero 6, interesting choice. I will say. There's
Not
a
the
lot
last interesting choice I have, Cody.
Yes, this one is just. It's so weird to me because this is another one that world build that I really like, but then it's just like this movie literally sets up like, oh, that brother ain't gonna be around a long time. Like I've been through enough Disney stuff that like, oh, he created this character. I didn't see this guy in the trailer. Oh, he actually loves and looks out for his brother. Yeah, he gonna be gone. Yeah, they took care of him real quick. So it lost a lot of emotional element for me because I knew it was coming. I think the villain is very underrated in this movie. I think that is like a really cool twist in the movie. I just feel like this movie like tries to be the C-rate Avengers at times. Like, oh, look at these ragtag crew. And there's one girl I don't know her name in the movie, but she pronounces Hero the entire movie, but everybody else calls him Hero Normal, and it drives me batty throughout So one person decided to do the accent, the rest didn't, and it drives me crazy. I think Baymax is a fine character, but again, this movie loses a lot of rewatches for me because that first time is that world build, the second time, and top 10, a little hard. 3 people did not have it, and I'm going to be honest with you. I've seen some catty looks in my lifetime. The look that Boatman gave was a side eye of like, you're terrible. I can't wait to get to that, but we're going to wait for that. Tim, Nazario, why not Big Hero 6?
For me, I think it's just really forgettable. I also have a disdain towards this movie because it had no business winning Best Animated Feature that year. How to Train Your Dragon 2 should have won.
100% true.
But yeah, I think it's just really forgettable. I think Baymax is memorable, and the ba-da-da-da-da is funny, but like I don't remember shit about this movie. Like it just came out on. I'm gonna drop the word. It just came out on 4K, and I picked it up and watched it again, and I didn't remember anything. Like me and Maggie were sitting there, and we were like, so wait, who turns out to be the villain? And like we couldn't remember like anything. Like I just think it's really forgettable. I think it's someone said it earlier about Robin Hood that it's like fun while you're watching it, but then after that it just kind of goes away. So
fun while you're watching it. You mean like Emperor's New Groove?
Nazario, don't pick that hill to die on.
I actually really like Big Hero 6. It's my mid-teens. I think it's like 15, 16, something like that on my list. Baymax, basically, it's the movie for me. That character, it's really nothing to do with the Baymax monster from the comic book. They completely reinterpreted and into a character I really, really loved. And his relationship with Hero, I think it makes the movie. Even with his brother, Tadashi, that, yeah, it's pretty obvious he's not going to be long for the movie since he doesn't really show up in any of the trailers or any of the promotional material. But the movie itself works. I really enjoyed it. And I just figured, I don't know, I just feel like other movies are more worth my time, I guess. Oh, and also, you were right that the wrong movie won 2014's Best Animated Movie. That should have been the Lego movie.
Should have been How to Train Your Dragon 2, but
it wasn't nominated, so.
Should have been How to Train Your Dragon 2 by a lot.
Jonathan Peck? Yikes.
No.
Okay. This is the most by the numbers, lifeless, like there's nothing explicitly bad about this movie, but I've seen everything this movie does before and better. That's the problem, is it just feels like this movie's on autopilot. It doesn't really leave an impression with you. It's like perfectly fine. The one element that's really good is Baymax. Baymax is great and a really fun character, but everything else isn't really done bad, but it's done generically. It just doesn't feel like a movie that feels unique. And that's the one thing that I don't want from Disney. We can have bad movies. We can have awful movies. But what I don't want is something that just feels lifeless. This movie doesn't feel unique, and that's not what I want from Disney.
Ouch. Okay, go to your 6.
Here's where everyone gets mad at me. My number 6 is The Lion King.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I have that higher.
Higher as in like the number is higher, or higher as in you're yikesing it?
Yeah, well, lower on the list, higher the number, I don't know.
Okay.
It's 7.
Okay, it still got yikes, so that's fine. My number 5 is Mulan.
So that was my 5 as well, right? No, that was my 6.
Okay.
Anybody else?
And that was my 8.
Okay, so
Nazario
Tim.
Yeah. I'm gonna be straight up with y'all. I watched this movie for the first time, I think, 3 days ago. I had never seen it. I had never seen it.
Great to 5.
I know. I'm sorry. But I fixed that, and oh boy, is this a good movie. I think the animation is incredible. I think the songs are fantastic, and I really like the way it thematically goes, where like it starts off as kind of this light, happy movie, and you have it as a musical, and then the moment they find that burned down village, there's not a single song sung by the characters in the rest of the movie, because from that moment on, it's a much darker, much more serious tone for the rest of the film, and I think it's really cool. I think the animation's fantastic. I think the story is really great. I think Eddie Murphy is fantastic as Mushu. It's just really good. Like, it's really dope, and the animation in it is so good. Yeah, I made it my 5 right away, Scully. It's incredible. Yeah.
Tim, did you see this 3 days ago and make it your 6?
No, I saw this when it came out. But that's
I wasn't alive then. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know, it saddens me, but at least Cam has, Cam. I'm gonna be honest. You've said some things in the past that have made me think you're a fool. But today you've done me proud because you're a member of Team 19 that actually likes this movie, unlike some blue-haired people backstage who think this movie's terrible for some reason. You can give me the finger all you want, Koho. It's true. This movie's dope as shit. It's really, like, the music is really good. Like, all the normal Disney stuff is really good. And also, like, super memorable. Like, I can't think of the name of the song, but the "Let's Get Down to Business," that whole
I'll
thing.
make a man out of you.
There, thank you. Is super memorable, super fun. The characters are great, and yeah, just like it goes in a place where just you wouldn't necessarily expect. It's just it's a really great story, great movie. Yeah, no, I love this movie. I haven't seen it in a while. It's one that I was going to rewatch before I went to the theaters this weekend to see the new one, but that's not fucking happening anymore. So, you know, but no, I do love the movie. It's great. It's Eddie Murphy's doing some good stuff here too. Before he was even Donkey, I think this character, I think Mushu might even be a little bit better, if in my opinion. But yeah, I love this movie.
This is my number 8. I think. Sorry. This is my number 8. I think the comedy in this is actually really funny, and not just Eddie Murphy. I think Mulan interacting with all the other soldiers and pretending to be a guy, like that's really funny. I think there's just a lot of like really good comedy that comes out of this, and also some good drama. The villain is definitely kind of underdeveloped, but you also don't spend like that much time with them, so it's not that big of a deal. But the highlights of this movie are definitely the comedic moments.
Yeah, so I watched this movie 3 days ago, but that was just because I was rewatching movies. I think this movie is fantastic. I think it's super strong in that Renaissance age that they produce almost hit after hit after, and then there's a few that came out that I don't agree with, and then this one hit again. I think this movie is incredible. I think the songs are fantastic. There's parts that frustrate me because it's just how the story breaks down, but like she saves everybody and they're like, "You're a female, you're dead, kill her." You don't be dead if she didn't save you.
That's history.
I know, but
modern times sometimes.
It just shows how stupid people are. Like, good lord. The songs are incredible. Make a Man Out of You is top 10 Disney song of all time. Koho says it's so overrated of the Renaissance. I think it's so stupid to say that. This one is brilliant. So,
not
hands
the most
down,
overrated movie of the Renaissance, Koho.
and I think you guys put in a good range. I think 7 to 5, that range is perfect. I don't think anything higher. I know like certain people have it high on their list. It's not there for me, but it's definitely, if you're watching Disney movies, this has to be thought of. Why do you hate Mulan?
I don't hate Mulan. It's in my top 20. It's 19, 20, something like this. I really like the movie. It's actually like my 4th favorite of the Renaissance, and it's really good. I do think Mushu is way better than Donkey for Eddie Murphy. It's funnier, and they actually use him just enough so it doesn't become annoying. And the movie itself, it blends a lot of good CG with a traditional animation in a way that it makes it, the avalanche scene looks like incredible. And the thing with the kid and the village, let's return the doll to the girl. That's just boss level, man. I really was excited about seeing the remake. I figured it would go a little darker with it. I even had my ticket bought for tomorrow, and yet here we are.
It's facts. This show was supposed to be pre-taped today too, because we were supposed to be going somewhere. Okay, Cam, go to your 4.
Yeah, this is probably the other one where people go, "What? What are you doing?" My number 4 is Treasure Planet. Boatman, don't look at me like that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had a feeling I'd be the only one with this as well. I figured maybe Boatman might have it at 10, but yeah. This is my nostalgia movie. This is my, like, I love it. I think it's really cool. I think it takes the Treasure Island story, which has been done so much and just played out a ton, and takes it and puts it in this new world that's really cool. I think the animation is really, really interesting. Oh, shut up, Scully. I think the animation is really, really interesting. I think it's fun. I think the soundtrack is really good. Yeah, Scully, stop. It's just really enjoyable. Joseph Gordon-Levitt gives a great voice performance as Jim. Martin Short as Ben is insane, and that's exactly what you want from Martin Short in any movie. Yeah, I'm aware that me having this is insane to most people, but I really enjoy it, and I do not apologize.
So this is really funny that you put this in your list, is because this is a movie that I put on for my kids this past week. My 4-year-old did not enjoy this movie. He didn't understand why I put it on there. He was bored halfway through. My wife, he was like, "Why'd you pick this one?" I was like, "Because I haven't seen it fully through." And she's like, "It's not good." And that's correct. Me and Boatman got into a long conversation last night. I was like, well, it's based on Treasure Island, so, like blah, blah. I still think the concept is stupid. For him to even grow and be accepting of the cyborg is one of the dumbest things ever, because in the first 10 minutes, don't trust the cyborg. I'm going to ride around the stars with the cyborg. It's so dumb.
I mean, to be fair, that's the book.
I know, and I don't. That's why I said read the book. It shouldn't be adapted to a movie. I think the overall, Ben is one of the best characters, and again, I get it. Shows up in the last 10 minutes. Still stupid part of it, because that's a great character that needs to be featured more. I think this movie is just overall the most meh movie I have ever seen, with a bad plot, bad written. I don't think that story's great. So, no one else had Treasure Planet. Boatman also did the side eye, how dare you? Ooh. So, Tim, Nazario, why didn't you have this?
I actually respect this choice very much, because this movie, I think it is a little underrated. I respect the hell out of a lot of what they were trying to do. Ron Clements and John Musker were trying to make this movie since 1990, and Disney kept pushing them off, yeah, you can do that after you do this other movie and this other movie, and they just kept making hits until they finally got to make the movie. Maybe overcooked a little bit. I get what you say about the cyborg thing, but you have to remember, in the book, it was a peg leg man. Don't trust the peg leg man in a world where everybody has a peg leg. So it's kind of more like this is one a peg leg guy, could be one of 100. Maybe this is not the guy.
Yeah.
But
the first cyborg he runs into is okay. I'm good.
Well, because the whole thing is he's naive, and he's like, it couldn't be that cyborg. That'd be too easy.
Yeah. and I have to admit, I really like Treasure Island. I actually rewatched Treasure Island, the Muppet ones, today with Tim Curry, which was great. And
that movie slaps.
That movie is also underrated as
but
hell.
What if that movie was in space?
Telling me it was the worst Muppet movie. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So
that's a great one.
The choice, but this movie has its failings, so it's kind of middle of the road Disney for me, mid-20s, 30s, like this. But it's not a bad movie.
I just haven't seen it in years. I haven't seen it since I was really little. I haven't had an interest to see it again. That being said, I'm going to rewatch it just because, I can write fandom questions from it, and then I can maybe see if I reappreciate it as an adult now. But yeah, it has never been one that I've wanted to go back to rewatch. So.
And Caddy Heron, go ahead and tell Cam why he's wrong.
Oh, am I? Oh, okay.
That's you, Boatman.
Why am I? Okay, I'll take that. I'd rather.
All right, Regina George, whichever one you want.
No, I'll be Caddy Heron. That's fine.
Listen here, Gretchen Wieners.
Okay. I think this movie is not bad, but top 10, Cam.
Yeah.
Above Emperor's New Groove. You have this. This movie is very flawed. Jim Hawkins is the most late 90s cliche main character I've ever seen. It's legit. There's the scene where he's sky surfing. That is one of the most dumb things. No, let me talk. This is my type. Sky surfing is Disney, a bunch of old Disney executives trying to be your mom, trying to be cool when she's hey, what's up, dogs, what's up? That's what it feels like. It's super cringy, and I hate that scene. There's some good things about it. Martin Short, John Silver, I actually think has a good dynamic with Jim Hawkins, and I think that's interesting. But this is not top 10 material. It really isn't.
It is for me.
I love how
it's my list, not the best list.
Yeah, but this show is called Your List Sucks.
And I'm
And
apparently
that part
fulfilling the
does
title,
suck.
Boatman.
That part does suck. Okay, so we're moving on to Boat. Now everybody can yell at Boatman for his choices.
Yeah.
Give us your
Good.
7.
All right. My number 7 is my thing will actually. Alice in Wonderland.
Yikes!
Okay. My number 6 is the Disney classic
Yikes.
6 Aladdin. That's what I have.
Yikes.
You're listening all. Like,
I made sure to pull it up in another tab because I was like, I'm not messing this up.
well, if it helps you, Koho will put it at the bottom, so it's okay. But go ahead. What's your 5?
My number 5 is the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yikes!
Okay. And my number 4, we already talked about The Emperor's New Groove. So I get
Cool.
to
We
talk
don't get to talk to Boatman at all.
Incredible. Good.
Nazario, start with 7 and move on.
Okay, but just right quickly, I love how everything with Boatman is like, you put that on the list, does it have a llama? Funny. Okay, my number 7 is The Lion King.
Yikes.
Where are you at?
Yeah,
Stop.
already been yikes.
Stop.
My number 6 is The Sword in the Stone. Nobody else had this one, right?
Boatman did, I think.
Oh, right. I really like this movie, and I really like the director, Wolfgang Reinhardt. He did like 4 movies in a row in this period for Disney, including Robin Hood, which I mentioned earlier. This is a movie that, again, I watched when I was really young, and it really grabbed me because I think even if it's a little on the disjointed side, it's kind of like has the same thing like Frozen 2, but at least these ones are structured similar, like they are different lessons that the Merlin is teaching to Ward. So it's like it feels a little bit like short stories linking each other, but the overall arc of the movie feels a lot more cohesive. So it's the first one they turn into fish and he teach him about force and gravity, and the second one they turn into squirrels and learn about love, and then he turns into a bird and they fight an evil witch in the forest, which is great. The name sword of the movie doesn't even show up till it's on the intro of the movie and then comes back in the last part. But the character of Merlin and Archimedes are so memorable that they make the movie, and the whole Madame Mim duel in the end, that's like my childhood in a short 5 minutes over there. It's a great film, and I showed it to my kid recently, and he loved it as much as I did, and we have watched it like 5 times since. So it's a great movie.
Bowman.
Yes, this is my number 10. This one is really fun. This is more of a personal pick for me because I don't think it's like best, because I think it is kind of meandering and like it's not like perfect. The pacing is a little bit off, but I just really enjoy this one. And I think the Wizards duel sequence at the end with Merlin versus Madame Mim is legitimately one of the most fun things in all of Disney history. Like that Wizard duel sequence is just very creative. I love this film a lot. There is a personal thing about it that makes me sad and feel bad about myself. Yeah.
What?
Because I wrote questions about.
Oh, I was gonna mention that. Don't worry.
And it may
I was thinking in the back of my head this entire time. So I was like, what am I going to say about this movie?
Okay, yeah. I have a love-hate relationship with this movie. My love of it is I think it's really good. I think the duel is fantastic. On the world of trivia, I absolutely despise this movie. I think it's one of the worst abominations that has ever been written or existed ever in the history of life. That's just my personal opinion of it. But yeah, I think the duel, I think the characters, I think it's very underrated when you think of Disney. There are probably 20 to 25 that you think of right away, and this is one that falls to the wayside. And it's kind of sad that it falls to the wayside because I think if more people watched it, they'd realize how good it is. I think it also has a real effect that it was made, 60s? 70s? 70s?
63.
Whoa. Yeah, 60, sorry.
I was right. Huh. I knew it was 60s. But my kids, we watched it, and sometimes old animation doesn't hit well with kids because they're like, oh, it doesn't look like my movies now. when my kids gravitated and watched the whole thing and enjoyed it, that's when I know how staying power Disney honestly has. And I think this movie is very underrated. I appreciate it being brought on the list. It kind of would maybe miss mine. It'd probably be my 11, maybe my teens, but that's fine. Tim, I'll go to you last. Cam, what do you think about starting this time?
I don't hate this movie. I don't love it. This is one of those ones that I think is kind of in the middle ground. I think there's better King Arthur movies, although Kirk Kowalkowski would beg to differ with me about my favorite King Arthur movie, Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Move on, okay.
But anyways, no, I think it's great. Higatus Figatus is the original rap song to define a generation, and I think that's all that needs to be said.
All right, Tim.
Yeah, so I haven't seen this movie since I was a kid. Apparently, if you want to win a fandom title, you have to know this movie like the back of your goddamn hand. No, that's not even fair because I think Rizzy only got one question right too. But still, that's besides the point. I have nothing to add. I just haven't seen it in forever. I remember liking it when I was a kid. I haven't seen it in forever. And yeah, apparently he turns into like a fish or something at one point in the movie. I don't fucking know. I was asked about that. I don't fucking know.
He turns into a germ, not a virus. Just heads up for everybody.
Sure.
It's a germ, not a virus. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to Nazario's number 5.
My number 5 is Alice in Wonderland.
Okay. You and Boatman can talk
Yeah, I
about
was
it.
gonna say I did not have it.
Okay. Alice in Wonderland, similarly to Peter Pan, it's just a book that I really love from Lewis Carroll. And this was the first adaptation that I saw that I actually felt like kind of embodied the spirit of the world and all the craziness that goes in it. And he actually even they took elements from the sequel, Through the Looking Glass. They put it in the movie. The Carpenter and the Walrus scene is just excellent. And the movie has kind of this magnetic pull to you, like, and such a weird visual madness that every time I keep going back to it, I keep finding new weird things that make the movie the more enjoyable for me. This is probably one of the most rewatched movies for me. I never get bored from it. I can just watch it on a loop and keep finding new things that will keep me hooked. To me, the 50s are a pretty strong decade for Disney, and this is one of the reasons why. It's a great film.
Yeah, I really love the style of this movie. This was my number 7. I think the style of this film really works. I think visually, like it's very like unique, and I think it's almost kind of a road trip movie. It's just very much going from place to place to place to place, but I think that really works. Red Queen is legitimately the Queen of Hearts is legitimately one of the funniest Disney villains in my opinion. I think she's fantastic. The Mad Hatter sequence is great, and I just love this movie as a whole. It's my favorite classic era Disney film.
I don't like this movie. I don't like this movie at all. It's one that has never grabbed me. You say the 50s is good. I honestly don't like a lot of the 50s Disney animated movies, and that's my my own problem. But yeah, this one I feel like I'm not on enough drugs to really like it. I think that's where a lot of where we're going with on this one. It's very trippy at times. I don't think the story is that like compelling to grab me in and be like 100% on board with it. So I am not even close to Alice in Wonderland being in my top 30 probably. I do not like this movie. I don't think it's that great.
Are you sure you're not thinking about the Tim Burton one?
No. Believe me, I have not watched that one. I promise you that. And will not watch that one. Tim, why do you not like Alice in Wonderland? I mean, you're correct, but why not?
I just I saw it when I was a kid, and then I saw the 2010 movie, the Tim Burton one, and I said, I don't think I ever need to watch a version of this ever again in my life. And then Through the Looking Glass came out, and I said, nope, really don't need to do that ever again. So I've just never gone back to it. I'm sure it's fine, but yeah, no, I have zero interest in this one.
I know that I have seen this movie at some point in my life, but I cannot remember it for the life of me.
All right.
4. Nazario.
Boatman, you gotta write Morales in Wonderland questions so these people watch good movies.
Fair.
Okay.
No.
That's a really, really weird way to pronounce Mulan.
My top 4 movies are honestly, well, let's say from 2 to 4 are razor thin margins for me. They have moved up and down between those 3 spots in a while, and they keep actually flexing the more I rewatch them. It's kind of difficult for me to pin them down. But at this moment in time, my number 4 would be Pinocchio. That movie, it's insanely ahead of its time. I really can't believe that this is a 1940 Disney making this. It takes the original story and it presents it in a pretty direct adaptation. Back when animated movies were still allowed to scare little children. This thing it's so interesting the way it keeps flexing. It turns this story about a doll that tries to be a good boy and put him through the ringer of test where he's not supposed to lie, he's not supposed to misbehave, he's not supposed to drink and party, and he keeps making all the wrong choices at every corner because that's basically what human nature is. And in the end, this collection of decisions is what proved that he can be a good person. The scene in Pleasure Island particularly scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. That thing made me be a good boy for months because I did not want to turn into a donkey and be sold into the mines. It's an amazing movie that it ages perfectly. The animation doesn't even feel as old as it is. It's like 80 years old by now. And I can pop that in and I still feel like it's fresh off the presses. It's a beautiful movie that I am shocked nobody else has in their list.
This movie's creepy as fuck. Just gonna be honest with you. And me and you like different animations, and that's fine. I don't like this movie. I find it creepy. It scared me as a child, similar to you. But you're like, hoo, let me go back. I'm like, no thanks. And putting on your list, you ended up turning into a donkey, so it ended up happening full circle for you. No, I'm just kidding. I think this overall is. There is this weird divide. There are people in this community that are like, this movie is top. You can't even talk negative about it. And then there's this movie's trash. And it's so disconnected. Paul is going to stop being my friend after what I say, but I do not like this movie. I think there are parts that are good. I think the animation is still holds up. I think it's great. But overall, I don't like the story. Are you all on crack? No, you are, sir. You clearly are. So, Tim, Cam, Boatman, no Pinocchio. Why?
I'll say I actually like this movie. This would probably be in like my high 20s, mid 20s, I'd say. I think this movie's fun. I hadn't seen it in years when they just released it on the Disney Signature Collection 3 years ago or so, and I picked it up then and watched it, and I actually enjoyed it. But again, it's nowhere near making a top 10 for me.
I ain't never seen this movie. Oh. I ain't never seen this movie, so it could not make my list.
It's called Disney Plus.
Yeah, I know, Nazario. I'm busy studying for
Why
masters.
are you? Okay, I don't know who you're becoming, but that's really something.
Why do you come on a list if you haven't seen movies? See more
Pinocchio is
movies,
the only movie that's been said so far that I haven't seen. I'm sorry that I'm not 90 years old, Boatman.
Malcolm. Jeez. Okay.
I wasn't gonna say it, but yeah. I think this movie is good. There's a lot of sequences in this movie that don't really work. There's just 3 minutes on just clocks just clocks running around. Like, that's the opening of the movie. Why? I don't know. There's just so many things about this movie. It's clear that it's an early era movie.
The second one.
Yeah, it's the second one. It's the second one ever. So it's good, but it's not great.
Oh, and When You Wish Upon a Star, let's be honest, okay? Get a new one theme for Disney. It's not that great. I'll stand on that mountain. Clocks are great. Should have submitted a list. I asked you to be on the show, Paul. Shut your mouth. Okay, we're going to the top threes, everybody. Tim Brzakala, start it off. What's your three?
My three is The Lion King.
That's it.
Right.
That's where we're okay.
All right. So I was worried that Cody was going to give me an F because I didn't have this at 1. But I had to be honest with myself. There are 3 Disney movies that are in the constant rotation that I make Maggie suffer through many, many times over and over again. This is one of the 3. If I have to rank those 3, this one just... they're all perfect. This is just number 3 for me. I've said it before. I said it last week when we did our watch along. I didn't watch this movie as a kid. Like, we never owned it on VHS. I saw it like at a friend's house or my grandma's house or something, but I didn't actually like sit down and appreciate it until I was an adult. And I've seen it probably easily 10 to 15 times since I was 18. So I love the movie. The music's great. The characters are great. The story's fantastic. There's not a lot I can say new about it. I just think it's super good. Like, what can I say about The Lion King that hasn't been said already? So yeah, number 3 for me.
Everybody have it on their list, right? Or did somebody not have it?
That's my number 3.
It's your 3 too?
Yeah, it's my 3.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so Boatman and I have the same top 2.
Yeah. So I used to really like this movie, but I didn't love it. It really wasn't until the last rewatch that I realized how perfect the pacing was. I think that's one of the biggest things about this movie is every beat is perfectly done. And obviously the songs are fantastic, but the real star here is the score. Hans Zimmer's score is brilliant, and I love it. It might be my favorite Hans Zimmer score. And all the characters are just great. Timon and Pumbaa are kind of the perfect comic relief duo. They're just kind of the default comic relief duo, in my opinion. They're the kind of perfect comic relief side characters. Scar's an amazing villain. I appreciate him a lot more in the most recent rewatch. And obviously, Simba and all the rest are all solid characters.
I guess it's me next because I had it the next highest. I think this is a great movie. I think every movie on my list is good. It kind of just came down to personal preference. I think the first half of this movie to me is perfect. I think the second half to me drags a little bit once we get to him living with Timon and Pumbaa. I just think it gets a little rockier to me there personally. I think the music is fantastic. I think the score is great. I think once he comes back and you have the fight at the end, that's fantastic. My favorite moment in the movie is what do you want me to do? Dress in drag and do the hula? And then I just quick cuts to him in drag doing the hula, and I'm like, perfect. It's a great joke, great comedic timing. But yeah, it just came down to personal preference for me, and that made it fall a bit lower.
Nazario?
I think it's a really, really good movie. I actually originally had it lower on my list. It moved up a few spots after I rewatched the disaster that it was the 2019 version. Made me appreciate it a little more. Honestly, the main issue to me is Elton John. I really, really love the score, and I really like Circle of Life. That song is probably one of the top Disney songs ever. But the rest of the songs just don't really gel with me, and I have no idea why Can You Feel the Love Tonight won the best song that year. Other than that, the movie is really well structured. It's actually it's one of the very first times that I saw a a shocking scene as the death of Mufasa portrayed in an animation film. It's really good. It's just I don't know, Elton John, man.
Oh man,
How is that your problem with this movie?
like that is that started like you go out to dinner, your appetizer is fantastic, you start eating your steak and you find out it's fucking raw, and then you end up getting the shits in your car. Like it started going down real bad at the end of it. So Tim and Boatman, you're fine. Have a good one. Thank you for having it on your list. It doesn't have to be in the top. I've always said if it's top 5, I'm comfortable. Anything lower. I think it's real comedic that the person that put Treasure Planet on their list at 4 says that Lion King is slow at the end when the whole runtime
I
is
did not say it's slow. I said it's muddled.
So is the whole movie of Treasure Planet. So that's interesting. And then Elton John is your biggest takeaway of this movie, that the songs are good. The songs are the best part. There's one song that I'll give you, Kid Matata. I think it's so overrated. But the rest of the songs, fantastic. I agree. It shouldn't have won. I also like the Be Prepared as my number 1 in that movie. So that's weird. That's a really weird take. I'm not going to go and sit on this hill because like Koho and everybody else, they'll pick those movies and keep going. Everybody knows how I feel about The Lion King. It's my number 1 movie of all time. I think it is perfection. The runtime is brilliant. We watched it on a watch along, and it felt like the quickest hour and 20 minutes that I've ever sat through. I think it's brilliant animation. I think the songs are amazing. I think the characters are awesome. And even at the end, if you don't like the 20 minutes that we spend in Timon and Pumbaa's place, the last ending scene, the fight scene, is epic, and that lasts a total of 20 minutes as well. So it's not very long that you have to sit through. You still need to wait for Treasure Planet to do anything in that movie. So cool. We're gonna go to Cam's 3. I can just imagine.
Yeah, I feel like I might make people mad with this one, but I don't know. So let's find out. My number 3 is Moana.
It was my 10.
Yeah, cool.
Anybody else have it?
I don't think they do.
Okay.
If they haven't said it yet, they're definitely not saying it this high. Again, my top 2 are like locks, and then this higher range was personal preference. I really enjoy this movie. I think the music is fantastic. I think the animation is beautiful, especially the ocean. I think the story's fantastic. About just like Moana is like, she wants to be free, and then she gets freedom, and she has to use that freedom to become so much more than like anyone thought she would be, and finally accept the responsibility that she's been trying to run away from this whole time. Her relationship with her grandmother is fantastic. Ali Cravalho's voice acting performance is incredible. Like, the only glaring major problem I have with this movie is the song Shiny. It's a bad song. It's terrible, and I hate it. But other than that, I think this movie's fantastic. Yeah, no, I agree. Shiny is terrible, and that character is a bit rough, but other than that, I think this movie's incredible.
Tim, real quick, because you had that 10.
Yeah, I had it at 10. Yeah, if Shiny wasn't in here, I know Joke would probably have this at like number 5. I don't understand how I gave Cam a compliment earlier. I have to take it away now because I don't understand how something that you think is so atrocious can be in your top 3. But yeah, Moana is a great movie. It could be a perfect movie if that scene didn't exist. I think it would be, number 5 for me if that scene didn't exist. But everything else Cam said, I'm with him. Animation, story, characters, all great. Just that one scene honestly brings it from a 5-star movie to a 4-star movie for me. Really does.
I'm 100% with you. I think the movie, the score, everything about this movie is brilliant. That one scene alone, I've never seen a scene in a movie roadblock a movie so bad as that character. It doesn't even fit the theme of the movie. They put it in there just to be funny, I think, or I think somebody owed somebody in Disney and needed to cast him as a character. I don't know, but the overall character is very bad. That song is arguably top 10 worst Disney song of all time, and I'll
yeah,
put
no,
all the
it's-
I'll put all the racist Disney songs in there as well, and still think Shiny's in there. Yeah, so it always stops me. I think everything else is leading up is really good. I just think at 3, you have an interesting 4 and 3 for me. Not saying it's bad. It's just, yeah, it is. Paul is 100% right. It is definitely the best Disney movie of 2016. I will
That's
stand by
right,
that.
Boatman.
Zootopia is trash. So,
Zootopia is like
Boatman-
Bright, but for
Well,
children.
this is interesting. This is really interesting. Boatman and Nazario. Nazario had Zootopia at 12 when he sent it to me, and Boatman put Zootopia. So, arguably, you both didn't put Moana on your list. So you think Zootopia is better than Moana, but why didn't Moana make your list at all? Are you not a fan of it? Something tell me.
I think this movie has some really good elements, but mainly like I think just the lack of a villainous presence, like a good villainous presence, kind of hurts this movie a little bit. I think just the fact that I think the third act is just kind of boring. Like they have to do Maui's leaving, it's sad, and he's really gone, everybody, even though you know he's going to come back. Like, why waste our time doing that? We know he's going to come back anyway. Just let him keep there. We don't need this fake dramatic like tension. We know he's coming back. It just feels like a waste of time. I think that there's like, and just the entire third act, it's just kind of like a bland action scene because we don't really care about the villain. You know, we care about Moana and we want her to establish her goal, but really, I think the big fact is that the villain is just kind of this. It's like Galactus, or it's like not in the movies, not in the comics, or like just it's like Cloud. It's not really an interesting like character, and then there's a real that's actually Tafiti, but that's still like stupid.
But saying that, sorry, I don't mean to butt in, but saying that like take like that there's not that if you take away if you take it's Maui, right? Yeah, if you take him away or whatever, and then we know he's gonna come back, the same thing happens in Zootopia where they break up and like aren't friends anymore, but we know they're gonna come back together and be friends. That happens in like every Disney movie where something jumps in.
That movie is
like
some child's introduction to basic story structure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it's good enough, it's good enough for Moana.
What?
If it's good enough for Han Solo in A New Hope, man, you can leave and be a jackass and come back and save the day.
Oh, I'm not saying it's a negative. I'm saying that you use that as a negative against Moana. I'm just saying that the same thing happens in the movie you're defending. Yeah.
For me in Moana, it's dragged out a little bit more, and I think also because Moana is a very like stripped down movie in terms of the scenery. It's not really like she's on the boat most of the time. Like with Judy, she's going out to other places, so it doesn't feel like that section is dragged out as much. Whereas in Moana, it's just kind of like, okay, this is the story. Like, so that's I guess my problem is just that it's not that I hate the exact idea, even though I'm not a fan of the exact idea. It's the fact that I feel like the way it's done is the most basic version of it, so it just kind of feels a little boring.
Fair.
I am actually now in a position that I want to argue with Boatman because everything he says is just wrong. This movie is really good. I have it at 15. It's not like the movie's trash. The movie is really, really good. It keeps moving. I have watched this movie several times because of Kate McMillan's intense like for it. So every time I keep watching it, and I keep watching the other 2010s Disney animated movies, Moana keeps moving up. And right now, I only have a couple of movies above it. I have Tangled, I have Wreck-It Ralph, and Zootopia. Those three. I like it even better than Frozen, and I'm pretty sure it's going to keep moving up the more I see it. I don't even hate Tamatoa. Tamatoa, it's fine. It's not the version that you wanted to fill some screen time. I don't like the song. The song Shiny is awful, but the character, it's fine for what it's supposed to be. So, and I also really like the twist in the end with Teka and Tefiti, because it kind of gives a full circle meaning to the heart of the sea. So yes, there is an issue with a lot of the newer Disney movies that they do not have this central villain character It's more of a situation that they have to deal with. So if you think about it, is this in Frozen 2? Where's the villain? There's no villain. In Shrek 2, in Wreck-It Ralph 2, there's no villain. They don't really make traditional villains anymore. They just try to make situation things. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think in Moana, it actually works. It's just not better than 14 other movies for me right now.
I really do think the scene where Moana gives the heart back to Tafiti is one of the coolest animated scenes.
Beautiful.
All time. With that score, it's beautiful. Okay. All right. So we're Boatman. What's your 3?
Yeah, my number 3. Well, we talked about it.
The Lion King.
Okay. Nazario, what's your 3?
My 3 is Lilo and Stitch.
Yikes.
Okay.
Yikes.
Good
I
man.
knew where this is going. Okay. So
I have a feeling Boatman and I have the same top 2, but they might be switched.
Okay. Tim, what's your 2?
My 2 is Aladdin.
Okay.
So this movie is endlessly rewatchable. When the new one came out on Blu-ray, I made Maggie watch them back to back, and then we watched the animated one again like a week later, just because every time I watch it, there's just like little moments in it that I forget about that like just kill me every time. Like I love Robin Williams just in this movie so much, and I think this is just arguably, I think this is probably my favorite music. I think I like the music in this one more than my number 1, but I think the music here is fantastic. Again, Robin Williams like doing some of his best work as Genie. And I do like Aladdin and Jasmine and the carpet even. I love all the characters, the story. Jafar is not a creepy young dude yelling, "Bring me the lamp." I think it's perfection. And again, I can't oversell Robin Williams enough in this movie. It's so perfect. And I think everyone probably agrees, but yeah, no, this is definitely my number 2. I've seen this movie so many times. What if I told you my favorite Aladdin song is? I don't know what he's saying. But anyway, yeah, love this movie.
I think he's talking about the third Aladdin. I'm not sure. But we'll see. Who else had Aladdin? One other person, right?
I had it.
Okay, talk about it.
Wait, that's
Andy,
What? That's it.
Bowman's the only other person who had it?
I'm sorry.
But you had fucking... Okay, all right, okay. Treasure Planet.
Okay. Aladdin is my 6. I think that this is actually probably better than some of the movies that are on my list. It's just some of the others ones that are higher I just personally like more. But Aladdin is a classic for a reason, and I think the gold in this movie is Robin Williams as the Genie. Like, that is the greatest voice performance in a film ever. Over anything else, that is the best voice acting performance ever. He is the Genie. I believe that. I believe... Cody, are you really going to say that Robin Williams as the Genie isn't the best voice performance ever?
Will Smith, man. Come on.
What? How is it not? I legitimately, like, he makes that character. He is that role. How is that not the best voice performance ever? I think y'all are insane for that. And you should be put on trial.
I'm with you, Bo.
Yeah. No, I would. Okay. But like that villain is fantastic. The songs are amazing. It's a classic for a reason.
Yeah, so I won't touch on that. I just say I think he's great. I think he'd be top 3, but I take Jeremy Irons and Scar. That's just my opinion.
Okay, well, that's because you're you. That's like me picking Sam Rockwell.
That's 100. Yeah, exactly. But I go
G-Force.
Yeah, Sam Rockwell and G-Force.
Hold on. I'm going to put a disclaimer on this. Cameron and Nazario, I gave you all a score before the show started. Your list has dropped a letter grade for your incorrect statements about Lion King. This movie is one of those that I rank very high. Be careful what the F you say, because you're about to enter Hall of Fame territory from disrespectful comments. So, whoever wants to start, but you now know the groundwork and where not to step. So, go ahead.
I'll jump in it, but Cody left. Okay,
No, he's
quick.
there. You go.
Okay, I was like, quick, say what I have to say before. No, I don't dislike this movie. This movie legit would have been my 12. I just didn't connect to it when I watched it. I didn't like Robin Williams is fantastic, but the Aladdin Jasmine romance was one that I just couldn't. Koho, shut up. It was just something that I couldn't connect with, that I didn't like fall in love with when I watched it. And like I admit it is better than movies on my list. I think that I fully see that technically this is a much better movie than specifically Treasure Planet. Because I know you all want
you connect to the surfing on the lava more than anything.
But I just like I couldn't connect with it. Yeah, I like go watch Twisted. It's a musical that's Aladdin from Jafar's perspective. It's a real fun time.
All right.
I think
Yes, I do, Doug. Yes, I do.
I think the movie is fine. The music is actually really great, and it just comes down to the fact that it's a one-man show. It's Robin Williams' show, and he basically takes over the whole movie. And if you love Robin Williams doing what he does and you don't care for anything else, then it's fine. I like him. I just didn't feel like overall the movie does benefit from him, but at the same time it takes a bit out of it because Aladdin stops being the main character in his own film. So that to me make the movie good, not great. The songs though are actually pretty good. I do prefer A Whole New World than, for example, Can You Feel the Love Tonight as a romantic ballad. But yeah, to me, it's just, I don't know if the fact that I was 12 when I saw this movie makes any difference. To me, it's like 21 or 20 something. It doesn't even come close to the top 10.
But that damn puppet with strings. Ooh, okay. All right, I'm having a great time.
On
Yeah, no strings.
I wish I had strings that would just cut and drop me off the roof. This is a bad list to be a part of. I don't even know where the hell I am. Cam, what's your 2?
It's my number 2. Okay, here's the test. Are Boatman and I the same on number 1 and number 2, or do we have them switched? Number 2 is Beauty and the Beast.
Yikes.
Yikes.
And that's Boatman's number 2, which means Boatman and I have the same number 1.
I didn't
say it was my number 2. It could not be.
I actually have it at 2, so
it's still yikes.
You have it too? Okay, so Tim has it at the 1 spot. We obviously know that now. So we're going to Boatman. That's your 2 as well. Is that your 2?
Yeah, I knew it.
Okay.
I knew it.
And that's your 2. So Tim started off with Beauty and the Beast, and then
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast, motherfuckers, is number 1. It's perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. The only thing wrong with this movie is that the singing voice of the Beast is wildly inaccurate to what he would sound like singing, because he talks like this, and then he sings like this, and it doesn't make any fucking sense. But the movie's awesome. I love this movie. It is endlessly rewatchable. Like I said before, I think the music in Aladdin is probably a little bit better, but overall, it's just like when you kick off with like Belle and then Gaston, and then you get the title Beauty and the Beast. Like all the songs are just, and then it just all the music is great. All the characters are fun. Lumiere, Cogsworth, they're all great. I also am a little bit biased because I love the stage show, so that kind of goes into it as well. But yeah, no, I love Beauty and the Beast. This is one that I have not stopped watching since I was a kid. From the moment I was first shown it, I've watched it at least twice a year, every year for the last, since I was like 5 or 6. Like I love this movie to pieces. It is great. So yeah, that is my number 1, Beauty and the Beast.
All right, so everybody else had it at 2, so that means they have something that ranks a little bit higher. Tell us about it. Why is this movie the second greatest Disney animated movie of all time?
I will just say that there was a time that this was my number 1 of all time. I just liked another movie a little bit better. But I think this movie is basically perfect. I think really this is the one of the acceptable number one pick answers. It's incredibly well made. The opening song is legitimately one of my favorite Disney songs and really just movie moments of all time. I love it so much. I think there are just so many great things. I want to talk about Gaston here because Gaston is one of my favorite Disney villains. Because in like previous Disney movies, like the Golden Age era Disney movies, I think Gaston would have been the hero. Like they kind of modeled him after like Prince Philip and the unnamed princes from Cinderella and Snow White. I think it's just he's an incredibly well written character in that song. His villain song is one of the best villain songs of all time in Disney history. So it's a fantastic film. Totally justifiable number one.
I have the same basic feelings. I don't think there's anything wrong with this movie. The music is perfect. The animation is beautiful. The timing overall is pretty spot on. And similarly to Boatman, it's in the number one fight usually very strongly. It's my wife's favorite movie. And honestly, the side characters add to the movie instead of detract. It never feels like it's wasting your time. And even the way Gaston is drawn and painted as a usual hero character in an animated Disney film, and then turns out to be the bad guy and reveal his true nature in the end. It's a beautiful flick, and it's amazing the level of nuance that they got into this movie. Too bad they made 2 freaking sequels that don't know what the hell they were doing. But other than that,
agreed.
Yeah, no, this movie's incredible. This movie's fantastic. I also am incredibly fond of the stage show. I played the Beast in 11th grade.
Me too.
Great. I know Tim also played the Beast because I listened to your episode of Jukebox Jam session.
Oh, there you go.
One of this movie's great. Like, honestly, my biggest problem is that there are songs in the stage show that should be in this movie. Specifically, If I Can't Love Her and Maison de Lune are both fantastic and should be in here. But everything that's in this movie is fantastic. Gaston's a great villain that they tried replicating in Tarzan with Clayton, who's another just, I'm arrogant, I'm the greatest, and it just doesn't work as well. The animation's beautiful. All those sweeping, moving camera shots that they make, despite the fact that it's an animated movie with no cameras, is incredible. Like, the voice acting is great. Paige O'Hara is incredible. Do I have the right? Yeah, Paige O'Hara. Am I right?
Yep.
Bowman?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. For a second, I thought I was getting confused with Jodie Benson, but we're fine.
No, you're good.
deliver me.
Yeah. I love this movie. It's fantastic. It's beautiful. And then that sentimental connection is there for me, so it brings it up to number 2.
This movie sucks. No, I'm just kidding.
Could you
It's
imagine?
It's in my top 5. There's a movie we haven't got to yet. That has kind of, I think it's my 3. I think it goes Lion King, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast for me. And I think it's not, and two of those are interchangeable any day. Like, it really could be either one. One is never going to move, but it's a beautiful story. I directed. We'll talk about high school theater. I directed the stage production for my high school when I was in college. I absolutely 100% agree with Cam. Those songs desperately need to be in this movie.
That's what the live action one needed.
Yeah, I think there are beautiful songs that are just missing the point. But you're right. This movie just flows through, and all the characters are well developed, and they play off each other super well. I think Lumiere and Cogsworth is the best buddy duo besides Timon and Pumbaa in any movie. I think they're fantastic. And Disney tried to recreate that throughout the years, but they don't really do that the best anymore. Pain and Panic and stuff like that. But the 1-2 punch was always really great. And Mrs. Potts, I honestly think the most iconic song in any Disney movie is Beauty and the Beast. I think that song is beautiful. It's not my favorite from the show, but it will put me back in nostalgia feels as soon as I hear the beginning of it. Oh, it's so beautiful. So couldn't agree more. I'm fine. If this didn't make the list, if this wasn't in your top 5, I'd be like,
I mean, I think we've all done the math by now and know this is the number one overall.
Yeah, this will 100% be the number one overall. But the other ones will be interesting to find out, which we'll find out right now. But I'm gonna do a swap because I know exactly what's gonna end up happening. I know two of you have the same number one, so I'm going to pause and I'm going to Nazario first. Nazario, give us your number one of all time.
I'm so mad.
My number one movie is not a perfect movie.
No.
But it's perfect. But it's perfect for me. I saw this movie when I was 15 years old, and it hit me like a ton of bricks, and fell in love with it immediately. And the more I have rewatched it, the more nuanced things I find on the basic story that really get to me. My favorite Disney film is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. The one thing I can openly agree on that takes this movie out of most people's consideration is the damn gargoyles, especially the Jason Alexander one. I do think that the gargoyles have a place in the film because he has to have somebody to have like a banter back and forth with when he's alone in the tower. And they actually do a good job at the beginning of making you believe that they're part of his imagination and they're not really real. And then they just kind of throw that out of the window for a couple of stupid jokes in the last part of the movie. But the arc of the story about this man who was obsessed of cleaning a whole country of sin and basically despising a whole race of people to the point that he was willing to throw a baby down a well, it's pretty freaking dark. And to me, Judge Claude Frollo is one of the best Disney villains, especially because of how human he is. He's basically a mirror for all these totalitarian leaders in real world that have the idea that they know what's best and they can choose who gets to live and who gets to die. And in the end, they're all sinners like everybody else. Because the moment he sees Esmeralda, he doesn't care about anything else. He makes one of probably my number one Disney song, which is Hellfire, which he basically prays at the same time that he basically condemns her and asks that if she cannot be his, then she will have to die so he doesn't have to be tempted. And he follows through. The man basically burns down the city of Paris just because of this. And in the heart of the story is the Hunchback himself, who is treated as a monster, yes, is the sweetest character in the whole story. And I really respect the fact that in the end, they don't go the easy way out and make the impossible choice that Esmeralda ends up with him, even though he loves her, because they have to stick to some level of basic realism with it. And it really got to me. The animation is beautiful. The music is great. It does have rough edges to me. That just makes it the more appealing. And I have to say, it was my number two for a long time, but the more I thought about it and the more I rewatched it, it just stuck up there and got past Beauty and the Beast to become my favorite. Like I said, I do know it's not a perfect movie, but it is perfect for me.
Go ahead, Boatman.
Yeah, this is my number 5, I think. There are movies that I have below it that are better than The Hunchback of Notre Dame, but kind of similar to Nazario, this is one that I personally just love. I think there are more flaws in this movie, and I will totally admit that this movie has flaws, but the stuff that is good is so good. The villain, amazing. I love movies that have like a conflicted villain. Like this is a villain who thinks he's doing the right thing. And I think that's actually a very fascinating thing. Like a lot of Disney villains, they know they're evil. Frollo always justifies his actions. And I think that makes for a really interesting villain. The atmosphere of this movie. The movie looks fantastic. I think the songs are really good. And I don't hate the gargoyles as much as everybody else does. I don't like the fact that they're real. I would have liked them to be imaginary. But overall, I think this movie is fantastic.
Okay. This has ended up on two people's list. I saw this movie probably when it first came out. Didn't love it. Not when it first came out, but when I grew up, I watched it once and didn't hit for me. So I rewatched it today. I'm fresh off a rewatch. It was the first movie I started with today, and this movie's bad. Sorry, guys, it's bad. It's not that I absolutely hate this movie. I think Judge
Frollo, yes.
I think he's amazing. Honestly, one of the most terrifying villains in any movie ever. I think The Bells of Notre Dame is one of the best opening songs of all time. I think it is fantastic. The problem is the great characters stopped right there and never continued. I think Quasimodo, not great. I think the voice acting is bad, in my opinion. Not great. I think the funny thing is they even say a line that it took me 20 years to find the Court of Miracles. It took you 20 years? Man, you're a terrible judge. You did not look that hard because they found it no problem. It's just the story doesn't work for me. It's very dark, and that's not a problem for me, but it's very creepy as well. Like, Judge is like creepily like, I will not burn you at the stake if you marry me. Like, okay. Yeah. So
it smells her hair and like
it's creepy. It's so creepy. I don't like this movie. It's not gonna be I think some of the songs are good, but I don't think the three like good characters you're supposed to root for are so unappealing for people, and I don't like it. The Gargoyles, I thought, okay, it's just a Disney animated movie. There, that wasn't even one of the problems. It was the main three. The main three is the biggest problem in that movie, and it just doesn't work for me at all. And he turns into a superhero at one point, which he couldn't barely move at another point. So it's really weird. Tim, Cam didn't have it on your list. Why not?
Go ahead, Cam.
Man. I watched this a mere few hours before I watched Mulan. And it's a good thing I chose to watch Mulan second. Because I did not like this movie. It's like the music in this movie is so good. Like Hellfire is great, Bells is great, Out There is fantastic. And then like you have the central story and you have the villain, and like the villain is great. And it just doesn't manage to, like, work for me. Like, Quasimodo is supposed to be a likable character, but you really do just find him weird and annoying and creepy at points. And then, like, the Gargoyles, like they're not bad. They're just so out of place that it doesn't work for me. The animation distracted me a lot on it, because it changes back and forth in terms of quality a lot. And then like the story feels so rushed where it's like, Esmeralda's missing. We have to find the underground city of gypsies. Oh my gosh, we found the underground city of gypsies. Oh, they're gonna kill us? Oh no, Esmeralda's here, they're not gonna kill us. Oh look, Frollo is here now, so the city of gypsies is pointless and we've been here for 2 minutes. Great. And it just keeps like jumping from point to point without like developing it. Yeah, no, I didn't like this movie. I
could never tell. All right, guys. I don't like to rush the show, but let's try to make this number one. I know you both are very passionate about it, so talk about it. Let's get it moving. So, Cam, Boat, whoever wants to take the floor, your number one is what?
I'll start.
Yeah, go for it.
So, yeah, I'll try to be quick. I think that the best thing is Lilo and Stitch. The best thing about this movie is the dynamic between Lilo and Nani. I think it's one of the most realistic human relationships, and I think it's Disney's best child character, which is something that Disney doesn't always do very well. They either get them too whiny, too perfect, too bratty. Lilo is perfect, realistic. She's a real kid. The comic relief, fantastic. Dumba and Pleakley work great off of each other. Stitch is an incredibly designed and incredibly memorable character. Did you know that Ohana means family? That's a deep cut reference. Anyway, I think Lilo and Stitch is kind of perfect.
Yeah, no, this movie, as soon as I saw the topic, I was like, this is my number one. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. Stitch is just a fun, likable, enjoyable character. The story's fantastically written. The relationship between Lilo and Nani is incredibly and is so like real and fantastic. And putting it in this situation where this sister has to take care of her younger sister and threw away, like essentially gave up her like life and her goals and aspirations so that she could take care of her younger sister is, I think, brilliant. Cobra Bubbles is a dope supporting character. You've got David, who is just funny. He's just like a supreme himbo, not on a Gaston level, but he's up there. It's about a girl who has no friends and then gets the weirdest, strangest possible friend and finally finds a person who understands her, but that person is an alien. It's great. It's great.
Nazario and Tim, did you have Lilo or no?
I had it at 8.
I had it at 3.
Okay, go ahead and talk about it, Nazario.
It's a really beautiful movie. It's like a perfect little oasis of old school animation in what was beginning to become a sea of CGI at the early 2000s. This movie came out like really close to Scooby-Doo, and Scooby-Doo made more money, which is just a really sad statement on human interactions, I guess. It's made with so many like color. The watercolors look so pop. They pop really beautifully. The animation is great, and my favorite memory from it is the time that Lilo just tells Stitch like do whatever you want, and then he builds like a little model city of San Francisco just to destroy it, Godzilla style. Every character in this movie is lovable. Even Gantu has a really fun couple of moments when he's frustrated because of how Stitch keeps getting away. It's a lovely little film. I love the message about family. Introduces one of the best characters in Disney lore, which is Stitch, and Lilo doesn't go far behind. She's in fact the best kid character. It's an amazing, loving little movie, and I really love it.
For the sake of everyone else, I agree. It's great. It was my number 8, but I love it.
I also hate that Multiplex, also known as Kaleb Koho, steals my Ohana joke with Paul. You weren't there. You can't claim it. But yes, somebody famously told Paul that Ohana means family. He's from Hawaii. It's fantastic. Yeah, the movies. This is one of those movies that I think is tied with Emperors as one of the funniest movies of all time. I said it before, the 5 times a day with a brick. Still, if I'm drinking anything, I will spit it out. I still think it's hilarious. I think the whole scene about feeding the fish, scene, I can't feed the fish. That's an abomination.
It's fish.
It's so good. Overall, the characters was like the whole thing with the mosquitoes and Jumba, and like it shouldn't have worked. It should have been a B-rate movie that went right to DVD and released, or on a TV show, and they went with it, and it worked out perfectly. It's in my top 5. It's one of those movies that have burst up, and I didn't think when I watched it as a kid. It also has a lot closer meaning now with like my personal life. So watching it with my kids, I had a whole new respect for this movie. So Lilo and Stitch is a perfect movie, honestly. So
I want to add that Disney really thought that this was going to be their B movie for the year, because they pushed Treasure Planet a whole lot more, and boy, did they pick the wrong horse on that one.
I will cede that point.
Yeah, I hope you would. Okay, so guys, thank you. We reached to the top of the final list. Not bad, under 2 hours. I appreciate it, right? Sorry for having to speed up. So first overall, the winner of your the combined list. Sorry, we do combine the list first. Combined list is at number 10, Tangled. Number 9, Moana. 8, Alice in Wonderland, not a chance of hell. 7, Emperor's New Groove. 6, Mulan. 5, Aladdin. Good heaven Lord. Hunchback is 4. Lion King is 3. Lilo and Stitch is 2. And Beauty and the Beast is 1. I'm really okay with that 1, 2, 3. That is not bad. Of course, Lion King, I wish I was higher. But overall, I think the list is strong. 2 weak points. All right, overall, the winner of your list sucks this week goes an A-, and it goes to Tim Brzakala.
I sure knew it was Tim.
Let's go, baby.
Tim had the 1 weak spot of Frozen 2, but he put it in the 7 range, so that's fine, and that's more of a personal pick than him claiming that it's the greatest film to ever live. And he would have he pretty much walked my 1, 2, 3, 4, and then Lilo and Stitch is a little lower, but Emperor of New Groove is close. So fair. A change happened. A change did happen during the shooting.
I was gonna beat Boatman, but I ran my mouth.
Cam was in second, and then Boatman with a B+. Boatman is now in the lead for terrible conversations about the ending of Lion King.
No, the end is good. It's just that 20 minutes.
Mute him. Thank you. Next is a B-, was a B+, goes to Cameron Holzmann. Cameron Holzmann had it, lost it. The 1 week part was really Big Hero 6 and Treasure Planet, but Treasure Planet was the biggest weak point because I
knew that when
all those movies. So yeah, fair. And last place, not by a lot, but it dropped a huge heck of a lot with those rude comments. Because Hunchback was your one, and that's disrespectful. Pinocchio, not a chance in hell I'd watch that. Alice in Wonderland, and Sword and Stone I respected, and Robin Hood. Thanks guys. That's the show. Coming up next week, I don't remember. I think it's ensemble movies. I'm going to go with ensemble movies. No, I was wrong. April 1st, best superhero movies. Please send me your list for best superhero movies. It should be a grand time. So let's celebrate that Fool's Day together. Ensemble movies is next. Again, if you do not know what ensemble means, please do not send me your list because you can't go on. Like, there are so many weird choices that I keep getting. Like I like Wind River. Don't consider it super ensemble.
My favorite ensemble movie is Logan. Don't add me.
Yeah, my favorite movie is the Ryan Reynolds film Buried.
April 15th, we have overrated 80s. I think this is the one I've saved the longest for because I think it's going to be the most controversial and the most angry. I'm actually looking for a temporary host for that episode because as somebody that did not grow up in the 80s, I want somebody to have like a love and appreciation for those. So Kirk, Brian. Ooh, Mike might be a really good one, but I think he'd just say fucking stupid the entire time, but maybe. I don't know.
Have you seen that man's letterbox?
Yes. Second, April 22nd is space movies, not Star Trek, not Star Wars. Space. Dealing with space. Please put it in there. And April 29th, war movies. So, yeah, if you don't know what war is, again, don't send me a list. Don't be mad if I don't put you on the show because it sucks. I don't know what to tell you. Make better lists. Or make lists that I can actually be angry at. If you go to disclaimer, because I got a little bit of time. If you go into IMDb top 250 and just pick the best movies off that list and send it to me, I'm not picking you. You may have a correct choice, but I can't put you on the show because I'm like, I agree. I agree. The show's boring. You got to have a passionate list, and you got to be actually stand up for your list. So
it's called Your List Sucks.
It's called Your List Sucks, not Your List I'm going to praise for 2 hours. So please do something a little bit better than that. Okay, that's the show. See you later. Bye-bye.
Well, I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown. I amuse you.
God. Eat shit. How's that? Eat shit. Eat shit. Eat shit.
Smug smile.
Definitely eat shit.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
You can't handle the truth!